What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work To Game, and it is Friday. We have not done this in a while, and it is time to talk a little bit about, I don't know, like a blog post. And this one is going to be on YouTube CEO and kind of them saying they want to create more. So I'm just going to talk a little bit briefly about that. I kind of talked through this post once without hitting record, so I'll try to keep it nice and short and to the point. And we'll get to it. Now, I do want to thank our Patreons. Thank you guys so much for making all these posts possible. If you guys haven't noticed, we've been posting and streaming way more, and that is largely thanks to the huge amount of support we've gotten from you guys. Brian and I both work for basically like contract amounts of money, and so that's how we provide for our families. And so the amount of support we've gotten from you guys has allowed us to say, hey, can I post more videos? Because I would much rather be doing this than work. Now, to jump in, basically, they said, while the future is full of opportunity, is not within challenges. And so Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, came out and basically put out a post that said they're planning on communicating more with YouTubers. Now, if you're not familiar where this is coming from, basically a while back, they had begun performing experiments, platform experiments, where they do things like they take a 0.3% of users, which is still an enormous number of people, even though it's a very small percentage. It's just over a large enough base that it actually still affects a lot of people. And they're going to do things like show them pre-generated thumbnails instead of the one that we take time to build. And that's only weird because then they go off and they create all these videos for us as creators to go out and watch and how to make better thumbnails. And then they create this stat pane in the new YouTube Creator Studio, kind of our behind-the-scenes tool that helps us manage all of our videos and all of that. And it has this little like funnel that says, here's the number of times we showed your video to people. So here's how often your search terms were worth showing in results based on your ranking within those search terms. And then of that, here's the percentage of times that people clicked on your video. So how good was your thumbnail? Because within that group of people, you should have a good thumbnail. Now, you're not going to rank high enough unless there's actually something to that thumbnail. So don't just post a good thumbnail to something that the video is not about. And then below that, what tells you, hey, were you relevant? How much watch time came out of that? Because watch time matters. So if people clicked on a beautiful thumbnail, but then only stayed for 2 seconds because they realized that you were talking about hot dogs and you showed that you were going to talk about how to get a Lamborghini, well, then that's not going to get a lot of watch time. So it ultimately funnels down to watch time. That's going to push up your ranks. More watch time is better for the platform. The platform will push them to more of your videos, which is more views, which is more ad revenue, more followers, more subscribers, more comments, whatever you're doing YouTube for, whatever interaction it is you want with the platform and with an audience. It all comes down to the platform being helped will help you get there. And so that it's only odd because that experiment seems directly in the face of all that. Now, it's not, because the vast majority of creators, as far as total content generated, do use pre-generated thumbnails. But experiments like this really have an effect on people who make a living at this. And so I'm not really concerned for the people who are a hobby level. It's a bummer, but they were generating sometimes so little that they weren't getting paid even monthly because the checks aren't big enough. And I'm not really worried about the top people because they're making so much money that hopefully by now they've diversified into things like merchandise, Patreon, all these other things, other platforms. And so hopefully they can just pivot. It is a little more stressful to think about them as having employees and things like that, but that's not any different than any other industry. Something changes in that industry, they have to respond. That is their responsibility as employers. So hopefully they're setting aside money and all those things, just like any other business, for when there's a change in regulation, a change in industry trends, anything like that. The group I'm most concerned about is the group just above Brian and I, and just below groups that are that big, and they're starting to look at employees, look at making a living, making big money. And it's that group that just made the jump. Brian and I say we're going to quit our jobs. We say we're going to make 5 videos a day. We're going to stream 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. Here we go. And then they make an experimental change, and all of our revenue plummets by 20%. That's the group of people that I'm concerned for with this, because that's the group that, in my opinion, has the most to lose. They're not losing money for doing something that's honestly a hobby. They're not losing money that honestly they should have had savings for. They're losing money that there isn't savings for. They were taking a risk. They were taking a jump. They were trusting a platform not to do something silly without telling them. And so my big issue here is not that they run experiments. I think, in my opinion, we've tried multiple other platforms. I think, in my opinion, as far as the kind of creator that Brian and I want to be, YouTube is by far has the best tools and by far is the best experience. They are wonderful. The Creator Studio is wonderful. The way it pushes to my phone is awesome. The the whole interaction is great through and through. And it's not nearly as hard to get into as something like Twitch, which is another great platform with a lot of great tools, but it's very hard to break into. As opposed to YouTube, if you want to be a YouTuber, just post something. Just do it. You're there. You made it. It's that easy. So I think that in all honesty, my issue here is that we have all these concerns, and that it's now July 20th at the time of this recording, and they're just now communicating this with us. They're just now saying this. So even in their communication, they're slow. And my bigger issue with that is I didn't find this because a notification popped up on my Creator Studio saying, hey, we want to talk to you guys about communication. Hey, we want to talk to you about an experiment we're running. Hey, we want to offer you the chance to opt in or out of something, and here's going to be the pros and cons of that decision. What they did instead was I was out Googling gamer news to see if there was kind of enough posts. I have 2 or 3 posts set aside over the week that I thought I was going to make a gaming weekly right now, and I just wanted 1 or 2 more things, and so I went out and I checked my regular sources, and Polygon had an issue on this. Why am I finding out that YouTube wants to communicate more with me as a creator on Polygon while Googling gaming instead of on YouTube, where I am a creator? Like, they have me. I am their audience. All they had to do was push it. It'll show up as a notification. These are y'all's comments right there. When I open up my screen, it is always comments. It is comments, comments. I have a couple missed calls, more comments, more comments. You guys are by far the most notifications that go to my phone. And that's the way I want to have it set up. I have almost all notifications turned off for everything but YouTube Creator Studio, because outside of a text message or a phone call, that is the primary use of this device for me now, responding to you guys in the comments. And so the fact that YouTube wouldn't push something there and just say, hey, we want to talk to you about something. Hey, we want to make a change on something. Hey, this might affect your channel in some way. Hey, this might affect the way you interact with your audience in a way. And if it does, you might have a chance to get out in front of it as an advocate for us. If the audience is negatively represented by this, YouTube shouldn't be the one to tell the audience. The creators should. They should tell the creators, and then the creators should tell the audience, because the audience has already decided what creators they like. So you already have a group of people that they trust and they believe in and they like listening to. So if it's not important to that audience, that creator won't mention it. If it is, they will, and they'll do it in a way that that audience respects. So why they would cut the creators out of this, and I would find out on this on Polygon, is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that this is the first I kind of see that Susan's come out and said something, and it's a pretty politically correct, blatant article. It's just, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff, and we're trying hard, and we're going to try to improve, but until then, you know, bear with us, and we're doing our best, and we're going to communicate more and have synergy and other words, and you can take this entire post and you can save it for a year from now and post it again, and it will be just as relevant. So I understand the problem they're having. I just don't understand why they're not tackling it from the smallest group of people that can have the largest impact. You have a very small group of people that are generating the vast majority of your content. Why is that not a group of people that this is who you're communicating with? And because that's the group of people you're cutting the legs out from under. There are people out there who pay to have their thumbnails generated. How mad would you be if you paid for an asset and then YouTube was like, hey, congratulations, you've been randomly selected and none of those are going to be shown? So I don't know. If you guys wonder why Brian and I's thumbnails change, it's because we're responding to YouTube. YouTube is absolutely, now they have a stat that tells us, do you guys click on the thumbnail or not? And so we've done things like try thumbnails. You might see thumbnails on certain videos change from time to time, and we're watching the click-through rate on that video. And so that's what helps tell us what image best communicates what we're talking about. Because if you put out the wrong thumbnail, it won't get a lot of watch time. It'll get downranked, and it won't get shown very much. When it doesn't get shown very much, it doesn't matter if it has high click-through. It doesn't get a lot of views. The other side of that is if you put out the greatest video of all time and you just have a blank white screen, you may not get very many click-throughs. And so you may have this amazing video and then you only have 100 views and you have 100 comments, and those comments are all wonderful and all that, and you want this conversation to start, and it won't start because you didn't give the video its best chance, right? We can say don't judge a book by its cover all day long, but when we go into a bookstore, we don't sit down and read every book. We look at the covers. We look at reviews, we look at things like that. And so looking at how many views something has, looking at how many comments something has, looking at how many likes something has, those are all absolutely valid ways to decide what video is the best before we have a chance to sit down and watch it. Because we have, you know, hours and hours and hours of footage uploaded every minute to YouTube. So we can't rely on having to watch all of the footage to decide what is good and what is not. And so as they communicate tools with us, as they help build things and they try to better pair content with users, I don't know why they wouldn't be clear how they're going to do that. That way when something fails, you know it's at least for a good reason. And that way when something succeeds, you know why it's succeeding, and you have a chance to take part in that feedback loop. So that's kind of it. I just wanted to talk about this briefly. I thought it was interesting that that Susan came out and said this. I thought it was interesting the timing, that this isn't new. I don't know when her original blog post, but the fact that this is the first I'm hearing of it, and that I was honestly not out there looking for this article, I think is exactly the problem. It is exactly the problem. Is that they have, in my opinion, the best platform for creators like us that don't want to just be streamers, and we want to create long-lasting guide content to help people know things that we've learned that they don't yet know, and start a conversation so that in that comment section they can teach us things that they've learned that we don't know. That is why Brian and I are creators, and YouTube is the best place, in my opinion, for that. Just keep it that way. Just tell us what you're up to. It's not hard. It's not complex. Thank you. This has been Chris with Work To Game. You guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.